Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Crossing Realms Together. I am your host, the Reverend Rob Lee from Tarot with an Attitude. Now, normally I would point to this very pretty young lady over here, the lovely Miss Laura Van Tyne. So, no, everybody, Laura did not get in an accident. Laura did not shave her head. Okay, Laura is at an event and didn't feel she could get and do right by this. So, Hillis Pugh, my brother, has actually stepped in and said, I'll co-host this for you. And Hillis and I always have a good time. So I know there's a title to the show. Hang on to your butts, folks, because Hillis and I have a tendency to wind up starting with A and ending with Q. I don't know. So, hey, Hillis, how are you, buddy?
I'm good. I'm real good. I've been away, from Florida in Chicago, seeing family, and had an amazing time with my dad earlier today. And so, all in all, things are great.
That's good. That's good. So you got away from Florida. You're up north, west of us, but you're up north.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
So what do you
I
think about the
miss,
weather difference?
you know, the weather is a tricky so-and-so because I'm packing. No, seriously, I'm packing to come. I'm looking at the weather for the next 10 days. Every day, 70, 75, 70, 75 for the whole week. I'm like, oh, I could take shorts. I get here, 55, 60, 65, 66. I'm like, where are the 70s? Where did it
Hey,
go?
you're a diehard Floridian. Those legs should be ready for shorts. 55 degrees to me is shorts weather. I'm going
Well,
inside
no, but
now.
I'm a
50
diehard
degrees.
Chicagoan. So I
Yeah.
can wear shorts. Look, when I was in high school, I wore nylon shorts in a track meet when it was 50-degree weather. So come on. They
There
were
you go.
regulation shorts. So I mean,
Okay.
that's nothing.
That's nothing. All right. Hey, one of the reasons I asked you, and you and I reached out, we talked the other day. Okay.
Yeah,
And I
right.
want people to know we have not talked in detail about this. We have some because we were going to do a whole different show, and now we decided we just do it tonight. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
But the title of the show, Omnism, New Spirituality or Problems with Commitment. I did that as my usual tongue-in-cheek stuff. But a lot of people don't know what Omnism is. And what is the name of your channel and stuff?
Well, my new series is called Being Omni. So yeah, I love it because I'm just getting a little emotional even thinking about it, even talking about it,
Okay.
because there's such a presence. And what the reason why I started this series, Being Omni, is for people to really begin to understand that you are everything. You are the all. It's here within us, dominant in our souls and body. And sometimes when I go to sleep at night, well, not sometimes, all the time when I go to sleep, one of my bedtime one of my bedtime meditation is saying
Meditation. I love it.
meditation helps me go to sleep. But my meditation is saying thank you for everything, and it just rolls into everything else. But in the past few weeks, since I've been doing this series, I've been saying thank you for the all.
Okay.
And there is a vibrational difference when you say it. At least it is for me. Thank you for everything. It just feels happy and filled with gratitude. But when you say thank you for the all, for me it's more grounding. It has more of a presence to it and more of a strength and vibrational frequency.
I love that. I love that. Speaking of which, let's get this party started. I always start us
Yeah.
off with a prayer. If you don't care, I'm going to do that real quick. So, our most gracious and loving Heavenly Father, the divine mother, that divine feminine spirit, Holy Spirit, angels, the goddess, everything that you have given us, again, thank you for the all. That makes so much sense to me. I just got all tingly and everything. We do say thank you. I ask that your angels draw close. I ask that your spirit guides, everything, and spirit has drawn front and center. Open my mind to make sure that I'm talking for you and not through me. So mote it be. All
So
right.
may it
You
be.
know what? And scientifically, that makes sense that why it would change. Okay. Believe it or not, when I talk to people about manifestation, different things
Yeah.
are what they want. When we say we're so used to saying thank you for everything. We have done that where it becomes so flippant and we
Yeah.
don't actually acknowledge things. We're taking the easy way out. Okay.
Right.
When we pray, when we do things, but that forces us to change our mindset
Yeah.
because that doesn't even go properly. So your mind starts going, wait a minute. Wow. When I said it in the prayer, that was not my
Yeah.
intent.
I felt the power. I felt the shift
Wow.
in
Oh
that.
my goodness. That was just, something crazy. This is
Yeah.
this is
And
neat.
that's
So
what being Omni is. It's about understanding the shift that is happening not just internally here, because it begins here.
right.
And then we begin to feel the shift consciously here. And then you begin to see it in the world around you. You begin to see the consciousness, the awareness, and how everything is truly connected. Now, mind you, I've been doing plant medicine for almost 11 years, and I understood the connection, but now I am beginning to feel it at a different level, a different vibration. Can you bring that comment back up for me, Rob, real quick?
Yes.
I want to address that. So W. Columba says, I call it source, for it's the source of all. And, a lot of spiritual people, myself included, we always refer to it. And when I say it, I am talking about creator. Because creator, if you guys go to the previous show that Rob and I did, I talk about the creator being it, meaning it has no gender, meaning that it's the creator. And it's this construct that we have, that the source has created for us to experience it itself with. And so when we say source, it's almost like a knee-jerk reaction. When we say source, creator, universe, when we say that, it's almost like a spiritual knee-jerk reaction when you refer to it as those things. But when you refer to it as the all, not just all, but the all, capital T, capital A, the all, there's just, at least for me, there's the shift of power of intention, because you have to understand that these concepts were built in a 3D construct, okay? The concepts of source, universe, creator, those are built in 3D constructs.
Right.
We are collectively in 4D,
Right.
construction and destruction. And in the 4D construct, and even possibly the 5th D construct, there are these spaces of the all. And the all refers to everything, source, creator, universe. But it just feels, and I don't know if you guys feel it, but you don't have to do it now. You can do it whenever. Just take a moment in your day to say thank you for everything. And then wait a few moments and then say thank you for the all. Just whenever. And you
And
will
just be
see the
quiet.
difference.
Let it sink in because that's powerful. I'm telling you,
Yeah.
go
Yeah.
with that moment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, one of the reasons I wanted to talk about omniism, it's a word that's coming out, okay, that a lot of people aren't familiar with. All right.
Yeah.
And omniism is kind of like Jill said here, in one of her comments from Mainly Mystics, my girl Jill. All right. There is truth and guidance in almost all religions. And I
Yeah.
believe that. I can
Yes.
look at almost every religion, okay, and find something I can anchor in or take that with me to live my life. It's my
Yes.
life, my path. All right. And a lot of religion. Now, a lot of people say, well, I'm spiritual and I'm not religious. Okay.
Yeah.
I want to challenge people on that. Okay. Because you can be religious and be spiritual. Okay.
Yeah.
But a lot of people who claim they're spiritual, do you have some type of personal relationship with the all,
Yeah.
with a source higher than yourself or something.
Yeah.
If you believe there is no source higher than you, that's fine. What kind of
Yeah.
relationship do you have with yourself, with your higher conscious? And before you can claim you're spiritual, we need to be exercising that, because I want everybody to live a full life. But I'm not
Yeah.
going to condemn anybody for anything that they do until they harm other people. So,
Yeah. Yeah, and as I'm sitting here, Rob, I'm just all tingly, all emotional, and I feel guided to share one of my recent personal revelations.
okay.
And I think this may ruffle feathers or may touch someone who's watching this in a different way. And so growing up, you and I, we have similar backgrounds. Growing up, in Baptist church, Catholic church, we all grew up in same, right, or similar upbringing. And we were taught to worship Jesus. We were taught to worship God. We were taught to worship Mary Magdalene. We were taught to worship these beings who are also masters of that craft. Okay. And I didn't take issue with that until I came into my spirituality. And I'm like, well, why are we doing this? Why are we going through all of this blind worship? Why are we going through this? Because it's written in the book. It's written in the book
Right.
that we're supposed to live our life by. And it hit me. I mean, it really hit me a couple of weeks ago. I was like, the reason why I have an issue with the construct of religion, the reason why I have an issue with how religion is taught and how it is communicated to the masses, is that Jesus, and I'm going to say this slowly so people can take this in, okay?
Here we go. Pill coming. Get ready to swallow.
Jesus was never meant to be worshipped. He was an example of humanity's potential. Should I say that again?
You know what? And let me back you up on that. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
One of the things when everybody goes into Jesus, they all think they know Jesus. You only know what somebody taught you. Okay.
Yes.
But if you go into the Bible and realize Jesus' story is missing half of his life. Now, this is not a bad thing. Okay.
And I can tell you what that life is.
All right. But the last the Bible sees him, or the first, is his birth. Then there's a whole missing section up to his bar mitzvah, okay, which is basically was a Jew bar mitzvah, where his parents lost him and he was in the temple talking to the rabbis, okay?
Yes.
And they got ticked because he wasn't with them,
Right.
And he says, I'm being about my father's business. But then there's nothing. So if it was true bar mitzvah, or in that time where he could actually speak, that's 13. So make him 13 to 14 years old. There's no other mention of him until his 30. 30.
Yes. And you want to know where he was during that time?
Where's that?
So during that time, you have to understand the landscape. Okay. And you have to understand the history of the landscape. And we can get into that for another show. But at this time, this was considered, Egypt, okay?
Mm-hmm.
In that space. And so at the time, there was some sort of discovery that Jesus made about the ancient writings of Mu, which were the Nocto tablets from the Nocto Brotherhood of Mu. And this is where he was to study. So that whole block of time he was gone, he was actually studying about alchemy. He was studying about healing. He was studying about all things that healers do. But you have to understand that the healers, myself included, of today are only scratching the surface of what true human potential is. And Jesus was the example of what the true human can do through study, through work, through discipline. And so in that time, that's what he was doing.
And I
So
get so mad at especially
yeah,
my old faith, things like that, where I was raised up and everything else. When I hear them talk about, you're going to hear preachers talk about the impeccability of Christ. That means he couldn't sin. He was not able of sinning. Sin was not in him because he wasn't of man's blood. Hello, Eve committed the first sin. So woman's blood, it's there. Thank you. Boom, stamp, put a dot
yeah,
on it. Okay.
yeah,
What
yeah,
makes this so good to me is finding out that he could sin or
yeah,
could transgress makes him the perfect example of what our life can be.
yeah.
You
I mean,
know,
what our life is, what it is
yeah,
now, because we have from the time humans arose on this planet, we have not evolved. We haven't. There have been a select few that has been aware of our consciousness, like the indigenous cultures. They are so connected to the earth, they're so connected to the stars, they're so connected to that energy, especially, the Dogon tribe in Africa and the civilization that we call the Mayas, who are descendants from the first civilization of Mu. So, when we get into all of that, you have to understand that history. And so he was the example. So going back to the topic or the title of your show, spirituality or new spirituality of problems or commitment, we have been so committed to the faith that has been rewritten several times, many times, to keep humanity in a certain way or in a certain space. And so we allowed ourselves to believe what has been written and rewritten because they knew, and when I mean they, the priests and high priestesses of Egypt was aware of this knowledge, aware of this wisdom that Jesus had access to allow him to evolve as a person. So we haven't done much in the last, 50 to
we
30,000
really haven't.
years.
And when you think in the terms of evolution, okay,
Yeah, right.
we know of men, our calendar is dated on, it used to be, AD BC, okay,
Yeah, yeah,
after death, before Christ,
yeah,
because that's what we knew to be that we could find point a time frame. All right.
yeah.
Now, what angers me a little bit is we want to,
Get angry.
okay, people want to take what Christ was about or Jesus was about, okay,
Yeah.
and muddy it. So they're like, well, we can't do that. Now it's BCE, before certified era.
What?
Okay. Yeah,
I
it's
never
no
ever
longer
heard that.
BC. It's BCE and it's at ACE, after certified era. Okay. But you know what? They're referring to the same span. So I say all that to say this. Okay. Now, so we know we have thousands of years, okay,
Yeah,
documented history, human beings, okay, tens of thousands of years, okay,
yeah.
and the evolution process, we should have seen somebody grow wings. We should have seen somebody, we have not changed. We have
No.
not. We're grounded.
Someone
I
else
think,
should have been able to walk on water by now.
you think, you know,
and,
you know,
and so, when I read in one of my books, because, I'm self-educating myself these days, when I read about how Jesus manipulated the elemental energies, the magnetic forces of the planet for him to be able to walk on water, I'm like, that makes a lot of sense.
it's all energy, brother. It's
Yeah,
all energy. It's
yeah.
understanding how it works. That is, I hate to say it, it's Star Wars on a medieval level. Okay. And
Well,
there's more truth to that. I'm oversimplifying it. I know. Okay. But there you go. Okay.
the Jedi.
Oh, Hillis, I am your father. Oh, and I got some splaining to do, brother. Let me tell you.
Yeah, yeah,
You know,
exactly.
but we need to understand this, and this is what's going on. And when people they don't get Christianity, that the whole Old Testament my wife makes me watch Lewis Black, the comedian, every now and then. She loves
Okay.
him.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he's Jewish. And he's like, Christians, it's not your book. It was our book. You stole it. Stop misquoting it. Okay. In one of his things. And bottom line is, years after Christ died, now we have Catholicism that comes into play. Okay.
Yeah. Roman Catholic.
And it's a method of control. And how
It's
many
always
people
been
were slaughtered in the Crusades and everything, all in the name of Christ. And that was nothing Christ wanted. He never wanted that. So what's interesting to me, though, is what people tend to forget is before Catholicism ever existed, when we go into English cultures, where a lot of us stem from, or what's not, which has been around, let's call it European culture, okay?
Yeah.
But even in England or whatnot, the religion was more, they followed a mix of Celtic and paganistic religions.
Right.
And somebody stole this, and all of a sudden, the church became the main power source and took over.
Right.
And it changed.
But that's always been the story, because before Jesus, okay, you have to understand, where did the knowledge come from? Where did this wisdom come from? It came from the first civilization. And from the first civilization, migrated to South America, what is now South America, migrated to Atlantis, which is now sunk, which migrated over to Egypt, which is still here present to this day. And when you have the migration of all this wisdom, it somewhat loses its integrity over the millennia. But what's fascinating about all of this is that the very first religion was in Egypt, and it was called Osirian religion. You guys go look that up, Osirian religion. And it wasn't until when Osiris passed that the high priest and priestesses started hoarding this knowledge and wisdom and keeping it for themselves, and then only disseminating this information to other high priests and priestesses and the kings and queens or the emperors of the land. But prior to that, in the Osirian religion, that information was free and shared amongst all people. So that tells you something right there.
Exactly. And here's the crux of it. What really two things happened to me to make me start re-guessing. This was years ago. Okay. Christianity, my belief structure thing, where I kind of fell into Omnism without knowing what Omnism is, was, and people are going to laugh, when Michael Vick, remember the quarterback Michael Vick?
Yes.
And he got arrested, okay, for fighting dogs. The NFL kicked him out because he was charged with cruelty to animals, and there was an uproar, okay? At that point, I went, wait a minute. That was a form of torture on the dogs. And us as humans are outraged at that.
Yeah.
But that's what Christianity teaches us. I have to act a certain way, or I'm going to be tortured to death forever. And I started going, so have I risen above God? But I think this is where it started going. No, at one point, I went, okay, there is no God. I went that radical. I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous. Now, that's when I started going, wait a minute, there is a God, okay? But it's not the one I had any concept of. It's the all, okay? And it moves between you and me. It stays with us. We're connected. We're bound. Things like that. Now, on a Rob Lee sarcastic ask note, okay, we all took the higher ground with Michael Vick until they started losing, and then they thought, all the fans went in an uproar, bring him back, bring him back, bring him back. So, really? We brought back somebody that was fighting dogs? because your football team was losing? That's what I'm going, okay, humanity's lost its freaking mind. I really think an alien craft at one point in this time frame hovered over the planet, sucked the common sense off of it, and those of us that were inside, we escaped. Okay.
Yeah.
But so sorry, I'm waxing.
No, it's fine. I'm reading the comments and I want to just address something that Cynthia talked about, where she said all religions are based on paganism. So, Cynthia, first off, I want to say that not all religions, it's mostly Catholicism that's based off of that, as well as some of the, and I know I'm going to say it wrong, I might catch you for saying it, but the Spanish religions is also been pulled into Catholicism as well. So it's a mix. So Catholicism is a mix of paganism and some of the old Spanish beliefs.
Right.
And the reason for it, especially for the old Spanish, so that way they wouldn't be caught and tortured for burning for their beliefs, such as the reason why we have all the saints, Saint Peter and so forth and so on. They were other I don't want to say deities, but that's not what I can think of, other deities that they would worship at the time.
Correct.
And the reason why Osirian religion is important here, and you will only find it if you read certain texts, such as James Churchward in his writings. You'll find it in there. But the source of our religion is Osirian religion, because that was the foundation of, in my opinion, the golden rule. Do unto others every day, do unto you. That, and that was the foundation for all of that. And this was the foundation of all the teachings that Jesus learned. And so, throughout the centuries, of course, we can't have people finding this out. We can't. And so, which is why it was important to the teachings of the Nocto people. So, yeah.
Right. And, this is a great statement, and I want to talk about it. Okay. I do want to talk about it.
First off, this is a good one.
Being Omnist means that I can find things in the Catholic religion that I can relate to.
Yeah.
Okay. That I can bring into my life spiritually. So I never want to condemn anybody for being Catholic or believing in Catholicism. However, I would ask you just to ask questions. All right. Ask questions, because I have a lot of people that, I'm like, when we're talking, they're like, oh, I'm Catholic. Oh, okay. So did you go to confession on Saturday? And like, oh, no, I don't believe we have to do that anymore. Then you're not Catholic. Okay. Catholic, you're not born Catholic. You're told you're Catholic. Okay. It's not. Oh my God, I get so angry. It's one of those things. Start questioning what you believe and why you believe it. I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm saying, why do you believe it? That's all I'm asking you to question, because what she says here, Catholics are the OG witches. I can say that I'm a recovering Catholic. Now, Cynthia's comment and this comment is where I can blend these two together. Yeah. One of the things that happened when Catholicism started taking over the world, all right, they were starting to interrupt practices that people would have rebelled against because they've been around, such as Samhain, such as the my brain just went blank. Christmas, Easter, things like that, Ostara, all of that. What they did was a very smart political move to say, well, we're not going to tell them they can't celebrate because we'll have a riot on our hands. Okay.
We'll just change
but we're just going to give them something different to celebrate.
Right, exactly.
Okay.
And that's the way it's always been.
Yeah, exactly.
It's always been that way. But no, leave it up.
Oh yeah, no, I want to go ahead, because I know I've been This topic gets me going.
No. Because as I read this, something very important is coming through,
Okay.
especially the aspect where you talk about Catholics are the OG witches. Okay, so to me, this is an oxymoron statement. Okay, because Catholics, number one, are not saying anything bad or ill about them in any way whatsoever, nothing derogatory. They are the people who created Catholicism are the ones who have manipulated the way people celebrate or the people commune with nature. Okay. So there's nothing OG about that unless you were talking about the OG way of thievery and taking people's identity, cultures, and their celebrations. Okay.
Right.
And the term witches is just it was a term that was created to bring fear into everyone else because they didn't believe in what they did. So they created this term to bring up the
A
energy
label.
of fear, right? The label, exactly.
A
The
label.
label, right.
Absolutely. You know,
And
they
so,
called them, they acknowledged their existence. They acknowledged that their power was there. They acknowledged us.
right.
They called them seers, prophet. She's a teller,
Yeah,
but
but witches was
part,
the one that was most derogatory.
well, no, that's what I'm saying. But that's what
Right.
prior to Catholicism, all of
Oracles, yeah.
society knew these people existed. All right. But
Yeah, I was a high priestess in
Catholicism
my past life.
and it goes back into the Old Testament under control,
Yeah.
labeled them as something bad.
Yeah, exactly. That's all it is. I
Yeah.
love it is because when you sit there and you begin to see, and this is why I strongly urge people who are watching this to go do your own self study, to go do your own research. You find something that interests you and study it. And actually, right now, I
And
am,
don't just do, while he's bringing this up, okay? Don't just do, oh, I found a book that goes with what I believe. Get 2 or 3 books. Start
yeah,
reading, finding, and see where these people disagree, where they agree, and you'll find a thread.
yeah. This is what I'm reading right now. It's 400 pages. I'm taking my time reading it. It's called The Serious Mystery. And
Okay.
if you guys know anything about it, this is also connected to what I mentioned earlier about the Dogon tribe and how these very indigenous cultures are connected to the Syrians and how they knew about everything that was out in Sirius or out of off of Earth, off planet, and bring that information here. It's just fascinating to know that this information existed before Jesus. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that we don't know about our lives as humans. There's a lot of information that we don't know and don't understand because it's been hidden. And
Yes.
sometimes it's also very well documented if you know what to look for. And I'm just going to bring this up as a case in point. Last year, and I talked about this before, because last year I was in the beginning of reading the Mood series by James Churchward.
Mm-hmm.
E- Exactly, yeah, that's exactly it. But last year there was, I think it was the Academy Awards or some award show for actors, and I usually don't watch them. And next thing I know, I see a drum circle on stage, and I'm like, wait, there's an indigenous drum circle on this platform. What's going on here? What is happening? And as they're getting into it, I'm getting into it with them, just enjoying the drum circle. And the camera pans from a front facing view of the stage to an overhead shot. And what do I see is a red rectangle. And if you know, you know. and indigenous cultures know. As soon as I saw that, they were paying homage to the first civilization of Mu, where all of this information comes from.
And that you got to study, folks. It's not something you could just go to church. I don't care where you go to church. I encourage you to go to church. Follow whatever your religion is. But listen to me. Question everything. Doesn't mean he's lying to you. But I listened to a guy today who was saying the only people that speak to me are demons. Okay. And I'm like, yeah, oh yeah, no, it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. All right. And I think Jill makes a very valid point. And I love it. And again, this can be simply proved with the scripture. The biggest problem I had being raised Catholic, Irish Catholic, is that I couldn't go to God. Okay. I needed to go through a priest or a saint. I want you to think about that. Why is that? Okay. Control. That's all it is. It's control. But if you go into the Bible to James 1:5, one of my favorite passages in the Bible, if any man lacks wisdom, let him ask of God, who upbraideth not and gives to all men liberally.
Right.
So there, that one scripture, when you need something, ask the man yourself, ask the mother herself. And so I got to get off.
Because
I got to get off.
And the thing is, and even this is a lot. This, what I'm about to say, even people who are spiritual and people who are religious the wrong way, what I'm about to say. Here's another pill for you guys. You are God. You are the all. And when I tell people that, I say, no, I'm not. I can't be. I'm like, why? Because you don't believe it? Because you don't believe you are an individuated piece of source. You don't believe that you were created from God to be God, to have this self-experience. You don't believe that there's some sort of God in you. How could you exist if you didn't have that divine spark? The divine spark is it. The divine spark is the universe. Divine spark is created. Divine spark is source. Divine creator is Yahweh. Divine spark is Allah. All these divine things. It's all these things. And so I talk to God in the way that I would speak. In the way.
All right, folks, listen to the man. What have I been saying? He's my friend. He's my pal. He sends me people. I just wake up and say, good morning. You know, it sucks for the angels that you sent my way because they're going on a hell of a ride today because they're with me. You know?
Yeah.
It's a personal relationship. Have that conversation. I'll shut up. I'm sorry. I interrupted you.
No. It's fine because that's exactly it. And yes, there are, what we call a label angels. There are, guardians, guides, teachers, masters. There's all these in between levels. And yes, they are there to assist to some degree of capacity for whatever it is that they're here to assist with. You have to understand that everyone has a job. Every layer has a job. But if you need to bypass them to get the answers, I do it all the time. Look, I'm a psychic. I'm a healer. I connect with soul energy. I connect with God energy. I connect to the universal energies. You have to keep in mind there's, one of the things that fascinate me in all of this is that we are all spiritual people. But the moment, the second you tell someone, spiritual or not, that there's a piece of God in you, that you are God, they say, oh, no, I can't.
And that's the church in action, taking you down to where you have to answer and you must conform, okay? Because there is that, and let me tell you something, I'm Hillis, I'm with you so much, Jill, one of your things you're talking about with the witches and things like that, and I want you to think about, I want everybody to think about this. Here's one. I just pulled a card when you were talking about readings because I've been saying I need to pull a card. What do I get? The Ace of Cups. Spirit flows right along with that. We are not telling you to quit, that spirit doesn't exist, that God doesn't exist. That Jesus didn't exist. We are not telling you that. We are telling you to know why and what you believe for yourself, because it's a new beginning to your own spiritual happiness.
Yes. And this is why at 48 years old, I still watch cartoons. And I'm gonna tell you guys a metaphor. And the reason why animation is so easy, because they can hide any and everything in animation. You can hide any, and people won't take it so seriously. This is why animation is very good, very popular. And and this is in alignment with the reference that we're speaking of this evening. And I'm going to bring up the cartoon, the Transformers. I used to watch it as a kid, when it was on all the time, and now almost
Transformers, robots in disguise, and that is
exactly
one of those things. I watch it with my kids. My kids watch that, so you could be one of my children. Thanks for the age slap. Okay, I can see little Hillis sitting on my lap. Let's sing this together.
It's true. Yeah, exactly. And so in order to be the leader of the Autobots, you have to have what is called the matrix of leadership in your chest. And in order for you to be a transformer, you have to be given a divine spark. Without the divine spark, you cannot exist or live as a transformer. So think about that. If they put that in a cartoon about every transformer needing a divine spark, needing this essence of their creator, because they have a creator. So if they need this essence of their creator to exist, to move, to function as a transformer, what does that tell you as humanity? Think about it.
Trying to give a message. There are so many things. You know me, Bangarang, all that stuff. I got it from a movie. Okay, there are things.
I didn't know that.
And this, that's from Hook. Look it up. All right, now here's the key thing. All right, God. I believe God can speak to us.
Yeah.
In many different ways. Through a song, through a painting, through being outside, through a dream. It's what we do with that knowledge is where we go. Now, I'm going to go back. I see, you shouldn't have got me started on the Catholics. Okay, two things.
Was that Cindy? No, Jill did that. See, Jill.
Yeah, that was Jill. Okay, but okay, and you went with it. You made me leave it up on the screen. I took it off the screen, and you were like, "No, I want to go there," and I'm like, "Oh, I'm in trouble."
Well,
all right, it's okay. But here's two things I want us to think about, and not just Catholics. I want you to think about every structured religion, of which the Catholics are of the most partakers. Incense burning, all rituals, rites, things like that. The 5, the Hierophant in the tarot deck looks like a papal figure because it's saying remain in, there are certain things you still need to be, under control of, or you're under control of this and you need to break free.
Yeah.
One of the things that people tend to forget, and this is key. And you know who I can thank for this knowledge that just flipped me out even more? My lovely wife. Okay. Because I had to watch that. I didn't have to. Okay. But
you chose to.
You know that thing, huh?
You chose to.
I chose to. Okay. The Crown. All right. Watching it's on Netflix. It's a whole series about from years ago and through Diana's death and all that stuff. Blah, 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 blah. But you know what's ironic? We all say the church is in Rome. We forget that's not England. Okay. The reason for the royal family's existence and I've got it right here, is they are the protectors of the church. Now, before you go flipping out, it's not the Catholic Church. It is the Church of England, what broke from Catholicism. Look it up, brother. It's history. It is history. They are the Church of England, and I'm trying to remember the defender of the faith, an Anglican branch of Christianity. The Church of England is a Protestant church that broke away from Roman Catholicism.
Well, the thing is, now that
I wanted to make sure I was quoting it right, so yes, I looked it up. But
so no, now that you say that, there are a lot of things that I've read in the past couple of years that make sense. Yep. I'm not going to get into that. That's for you, everyone.
Well, we've already come up with the theme for 2 or 3 other shows. So,
what are you going to do? What are you going to do? Maybe you, Lord, and I should get together. The 3 of us should get together.
Yeah. Look, England, Protestant. That's where they come from. There we go. Thank you.
Thank you. See, someone else knows.
Yeah. Well, that's my wife. That means she's personally chiming in. Okay. If she's on doing our stuff over here, yeah, then she's acting as us. But when that's her going, oh yeah, I'm gonna put my stamp on this one. So yeah. So sorry, folks. Okay, I'll stop. God, but this Hillis knows me. This happens. I get so
he's passionate.
I'm passionate. And it's not against anything. I just want you to know what you believe and why you believe it, rather than I grew up. I think I'm so passionate about that, Hillis, and you understand this.
Yeah.
Because of the way I grew up. In fear, and not only fearing my parents, but if I honor thy father and thy mother, by violating something with them, it violated something with God, and all the condemnation that went with it. And I don't want my kids under it. I don't want anybody else under it. That I just don't believe that God created a universe to say, all right, everybody that doesn't go my way, I don't get it. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, that was the old way. And so when you are in a universe that is at a lower vibrating frequency, which we were, it just tends to be that way. And so now that the universe is literally moving back into a higher space, a higher plane of dimension and density, then things will become more prevalent. Things will be a little bit easier and palpable to understand and retain, and the lost or hidden knowledge is going to come forth. And that's where we are right now.
Yep, I agree. It is. I will promise you folks this, and this is a promise I can keep. If you start researching, studying, looking at what is going on, okay, really dive into what your spirituality is, and you own it, and you go, wait a minute, I believe this, I don't believe this, these people have a point. You can basically form your own, because God is here. Jesus was here. Jesus was here to show us it's all about intentions. It's not about the law, okay?
Yeah.
And what I can promise you is, when you do that, it's going to open you up.
Yeah.
And it's the next step. I mean, it takes a load off your back. Okay, that's not my circus, not my monkeys anymore.
Yeah. No, it's funny because I just want to share this personal tidbit. I went out and had lunch with my dad today, right? Mm-hmm. And my dad knows, I like to dance. And so we had got on this topic of, I want to know what you mean when you say you're going out dancing. Is it at a bar? Is it at a club? Where do you go when you say I go out dancing? I'm like, Dad, it's at a bar and a club, whichever one I go to. But the reason why I say I'm going out dancing is because I set the intention of my purpose of me going where I want to go.
Right.
Because I said it's liberation for me. It's a spiritual release, a spiritual letting go. And so when you spoke of intention, that's very powerful when Jesus set the example for us to be like him, be like humanity. Because what was it that he said? I can't remember right now. Something to the effect of you all can do what I do, basically, is what he said. I'm paraphrasing. I don't remember the exact terminology. But
Oh, yeah.
and so when he said that, he set the intention for humanity to follow in his footsteps to do what he could do. And
That's why he was
so,
here.
yeah, not the only reason why he was here, because he could have done many things because he was
Oh,
human. He
yeah.
could have done a myriad of things, but he made the choice to read and study and understand the Nocto teachings, NACCL. You guys can look it up, study it. And that's why it took him 12 years. Now, mind you, there's a significance here, of the 12 years. We go to school from kindergarten to 8th grade, 8 years. Well, no, actually, technically 7 if you don't count kindergarten. And then you have high school, which is freshman to senior. That's a total of 12 years. 12 years of education it took him to learn what he needed to learn. But of course, he couldn't comprehend it until he was older. So then you have to add on that. So, I mean, there's no coincidence in why we have what we have because of the master and him teaching what needed to be taught. I'm sorry, we could just go on for probably another
Oh,
hour.
my God. But we are coming up on the mark, folks. Wow. So let me
Yeah, I
ask
know.
you
Who knew?
go ahead and everybody in the comments below in the description is how to get hold of Hillis, how to get hold of me. And for those of y'all that are in here from Laura's channel, how to get hold of Laura, things like that. They're all in my link tree or they're separated out. Hillis is separated out. Some of Laura's books are still separated out. But Hillis, I want you to say to people exactly now how somebody, what's the best way to get hold of you or what you want them to do?
So the best way to get a hold of me is either through the links that I'm putting in the chat, which is my website, which is hillispugh.com. Easy to remember because it's just my name. Or the links to everything, which is taplink.cc/HillisPugh, which is in the chat as well. That way you guys can keep up to date to my social media.
Gillian, could you type that in or go into the description, pull it out? Because it didn't
I typed it. Oh, it didn't?
Yeah, but it didn't come through my channel or Laura's channel. Okay. It only went through yours. So I want people to I want everybody. So I'm going to do the biggest one right now. Hillis, the main one. Well, it's not the main one. HillisPugh.com. I'm putting that in so people can.
Or you guys could just also find me, search me, HillisPugh.com on all social media. Hillis Pugh is everything on social media. So you guys can find me there as well. I mean, I'm easy to find. I'm the only Hillis Pugh in the world. If there's another one, please let me know.
Oh my God. All right. It has been awesome. There we go. So she just there's the tap link. I'd never heard of a tap link, so I got to go check that out and find out.
It's the same as Linktree. It's the same as all the others.
All right. So with all that being said, Hillis, I cannot say thank you enough. People are begging for us to do this, me and you, more me and you. So yeah, we gotta figure out a way to make some of that happen. Okay.
It's happening.
Oh, okay. It's happening. Be careful what you ask for, folks. You just might get it. Okay, because eventually we'll piss you off too. So, we don't mean
in a good way. In a good way.
In a good way. Yeah. We just want you to question. We want you to ask things like that.
Yeah.
And we want to give you a safe place. One of the reasons I do things and make fun and do this, I want to give you a safe place where you feel comfortable in coming in and asking questions, or, telling us what you believe. It's okay. All right. But with all that being said, everybody, you know the drill. Take what you want, leave what you don't, but leave having experienced some peace, love, and light. Banger.
Bangerang.